Welcome to today's transmission of the Ministry of Assumption, Absolute Manifestation from a Non-Dual Perspective. I am your host and Divine Embodiment Coach, Lucian St. James. And when I was getting my master's in positive psychology, we did a lot of exercises on values-based coaching, meaning the idea that most people are living out of alignment with what's important to them because they haven't yet taken the time to define what's important to them, most of us. And this is right along a lot of the lines of law of assumption and law of attraction and law of resonance and law of vibration, that a lot of us are really living out to these socially prescribed scripts, or maybe even familially scripts based on your family of origin, scripts based maybe on your geography or your gender or your race, but there's a script that is in some ways dictating the predominance of your behavior. So if we can get an individual to sit down, do a series of exercises through which they identify their priorities and their values, then we can help them create a plan, a life coaching plan. This was several years ago. I'm glad I got that degree, but it's not one that I used. It was really just more like information. But in that class, it was all around like life coaching and values and priorities. And the way that I describe a value is I guess I would say like an enduring characteristic trait that emphasizes a personal priority. So an enduring characteristic trait that emphasizes a personal priority is how I would describe a value. I will drop a link because I really like, you can look up like list of values. They're everywhere, but I really like the list that James Clear has on the Road Atomic Habits on values. But what are we talking about here today? How does this resonate, or how is this relevant to manifestation? Well, thinking about, I had a mentor that taught manifestation from a perspective of elimination. And one of their first exercises that they prescribed was a dopamine detox for you to eliminate everything that wasn't educational content, and really to be pretty strict on that, not to just consume that all day, but you have no music, no TV, no news, no scrolling, and 7 days is really not that's not that big a deal. That is, again, that's like a detox. That's not, I've eliminated that influence from my field completely, definitely, because some of those messages, they live in our body and our brain and our blood and our signal. But it was really enlightening for me to recognize even the influence that music can have over our consciousness, because we're bringing those messages into our present moment awareness. So what I'm getting at when I'm talking about values and I'm talking about dopamine detoxes, the core of what I'm discussing here today is elimination. That rather than I'm going to add in this manifestation exercise, which you can and should do. All the exercises do is they help you return to a place of knowing that everything is happening now, because no one needs to teach you to manifest. You're an individualized expression of God. You're the God of your reality. You are the energetic origin point of all things that you see. But once you see it, once it's manifested, it's already dead. And the materialization takes what appears to be time. But the manifestation, meaning your awareness of the reality of the lifestyle, of the state of self that you desire, that's happening the moment that you decide to assign it to yourself. So today's video is rather than looking at what to add in or how to align my awareness or what to do, what do you need to take away? What are the values of the person that represents the kind of identity that is the state of your highest intention? For instance, if you have people around you that you don't feel like accept your authentic self, or you feel like you have to in some ways mute aspects of your personality, or you're not very outward with expressing yourself because you're afraid of what people think, yet the person that you want to be is a magnetic, vibrant, authentic person that has many loving and empowering relationships, then you might need to look at eliminating your attention. I'm not saying cutting people out, but I would say you might want to reduce the amount of attention and the amount of time that you spend in environments that are out of alignment with that state of highest self. If your intention is to be an authentic person because that's a value that you have as the identity of the wish fulfilled, then spending time with people that they don't really accept you, but they're nice to have around because at least you're not alone, well, then what is the trade-off there? So you have this idea of being magnetic, which just really just means that, if we talk about magnetism, it means that you have a gravity within yourself, right? That you're not looking outside for other people to validate you, that you validate you, that you already know that you're loved, you already know that you're whole. And the things outside of you, they either are coherent with that or they're not a part of your field, meaning, it's not, magnetism is not what allows us to maintain friendships and intimate relationships with individuals that don't understand us or don't love us for the original, for the original that we are, but for our individualized expression of self. That's not magnetism. I've met many individuals, personally and professionally, that have hordes of people around them. Somebody else might look at them and say, oh, that's a magnetic person. They may not use the terminology, but they might think like, oh, that person's cool, confident, charismatic. And then I talk to that person again, either on a personal basis or professional basis, and they're like, yeah, none of these people understand me. I don't even like them, and they don't really like me. But, we go out and I've got 20 bridesmaids and it's just a group type of thing. Well, that's not necessarily magnetism, because that's a gravity of validation that is outside of the self. So then my suggestion would be to that type of individual is, all right, well, is that conducive to the state of your highest self, your highest desire to continue to keep people around you that don't understand you and don't accept you for who you are? I'm going to film, something on that after this, actually. That's always changing. Like, who are you? There is no self. There's only ideas of experience. So that's a ministry mantra, that no one needs to teach you how to manifest, and there is no self. There's only ideas of experience, and those ideas of experience that we apply to ourselves, they're constantly changing, or at least they should be if you plan to continue ascending and continue to continue actualizing this expansion of life through the gift of awareness that we've been given through the source, through the all that is. But eliminating things that, so if your values, if you look on that list, right, and you decide that openness, that love, that gratitude, right, that those are priorities for me, maybe spend less time around people that are always complaining or media that is always teaching you that there's something to be afraid of and that there's not enough, or not teaching you, but really like more the suggestion, because that's all anything is. It's a suggestion, and you have the ability to accept or reject that suggestion. I'm suggesting to you, nobody can tell you what to do. And anytime we feel like we're being controlled by something on the outside, and being controlled by the circumstance, and being controlled by this outside source of force, it's really because you've agreed with that suggestion of control and then internalized it and said, now I have no power because of the presence of this thing. So everything really here is just not here in this channel, but everywhere, is just a suggestion of influence. And you get to then decide, what am I going to assign as the truth of my reality? And most of us are that's what I'm saying, just accepting everything from every different way. I used to be a radio man. I spent 5 years of my early 20s doing radio, and I absolutely loved it. And 3 of those years, I worked in country music radio. And I was DJing private parties at the time and bars, and I really did love it. I'm glad that I had that experience, but I don't listen to country music now. And I love country music. I live rural, I work rural. That is just so sometimes I have a southern accent that comes out. I absolutely love it, but I don't listen to it because most of it's about getting drunk, which I don't use substances, or getting broken up with, or chasing after somebody, or trucks, which is fine, I guess. I think those are pretty much the main themes. Drinking beer, getting broken up with. Sometimes it's about not having enough. Like country music has a lot of scarcity themes, as does hip hop. have a lot of scarcity themes. So I don't listen to stuff like that. It's not because somebody could turn it on and I could say, oh, that's a bad song, or I hate that artist. It's just that I don't need that in my field. If I'm listening to songs all day long about getting broken up with and then drinking to deal with it, like what type of state of mind, like what am I aligning my present moment awareness with? So I eliminated that from my field of influence. I was going to say of experience, but of influence and experience, because it's all happening now. Manifestation is happening now. What you are seeing is everything that you're in a feedback loop, as I've been referring to it, that you are the source and that you're seeing the evidence of the substance of your state of self, of your assumptions, of your assignments. So meaning like what I believe is true of your certainties. You're seeing that. By the time it manifests, again, that's already dead. But, we're living in this feedback loop. And that's why when we respond to the 3D and it's something that's undesirable and we're attaching that to ourselves, that's where the problem comes in, because now I've already manifested something like this is already dead. I've already seen something that I don't like. And now I'm starting to assign permanence to that circumstance. I'm assigning certainty that, I'm certain, I know that this thing is never going to change. I'm operating outside of my empowerment, meaning that I'm giving power to the circumstance and I'm saying that it now defines me in my identity. And that the more I assign that to myself, the more that I'm recreating that experience. So that's why if there's something in your world that's happening with unconditional allowance, you just allow it to be. That doesn't mean you don't respond to it. There are certain things that you might have to do on a behavioral or on a 3D material context level in order to resolve it, depending on what it is. And it's not all things you actually need to behaviorally intervene in. That's also where we get caught up. But it's looking at the fact that if something's there and I don't like it, what I do is I assign what I know to be true about myself. I assign what I know to be true about the circumstance. I make that decision and I let it be. I decide what my experience is because of who I am, not what my experience is. It's not like, okay, this situation is resolved because nothing. It's resolved because I am love, I am whole, I am light, I am everything. And this is not something that's consistent with that. So I decide who I am, I decide what the circumstance is, I rest in that decision, and I allow it to be, which was just a quick synthesis of the Heaven on Earth Source Codex that we'll continue talking about in the transmissions to come. So summarizing this video, what are your values? What are the values of the state of your highest intended self? The state of self that already has everything that you could wish for, that you could hope for, that you see for yourself, that you desire. What is the state of self of your desired reality? And what values, so now we're narrowing that down, what values does that person have? We're talking about openness, we're talking about honesty, we're talking about creativity. If creativity, being more creative, being more passionate, is a value of the state of self, of your wish fulfilled, of your, highest I am, of the state of your desire, then why aren't you doing creative stuff? Every time you say that I don't have time, or you spend your time scrolling, or you spend your time tending to people that are not doing creative things, you're living within the context of the old script and then wondering, well, why hasn't my life changed? So you identify your values and you start cutting out things that are inconsistent with that. So we're not talking about adding things in today. We're talking about what do I need to eliminate based on the values of my highest desire, of my highest I am, of my highest state of self for right now, because that's always going to be expanding and continuing to, ascend through levels of awareness, and then eliminating the things that are outside of that. That's what we're talking about, values-based manifestation today. I thank you so much for co-creating this moment here with me. My name is Lucian St. James. I am a divine embodiment coach. Check out the Dispatches from the Edge of Obvious podcast, a more philosophical look at similar themes, and the Liberation Chronicle, which is the written word, the newsletter of this platform, both available to you below for free. And shoot me with an email if you have any questions or inquiries. Until next time, remember to be good to yourselves and others, because everybody should see a version of you anyway.